leadership roles in learning and development, HR business partnering at Etisalat Nigeria, now Nine Mobile, as one of the pioneer employees of the organization to define policies that govern human capital management. She was senior HR business partner at Nigerian breweries, where she worked with functional leaders to align their business objectives with people's strategies, and even led a company-wide change management initiative focused on adopting new ways of working. She is currently the HR director at PVM Perfetti Van Mel, a confectionery company producing premium sweet and gum. She's responsible for defining and delivering the HR strategy for Nigeria, developing and implementing effective people management initiatives. She is a member of the executive team responsible for the delivery of PVM Nigeria's business strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube, please make welcome Oluwatoyin Ismail. Welcome, Oluwatoyin. Thank you.
Thank you,
It's so beautiful to have you here. It's so wonderful. I mean, you're a superstar. You're a superstar, and I'm very sure that the audience wants to hear from you today, from your wealth of experience. Joining us on LinkedIn, we have Emmanuel Maxwell. It's so nice to have you here. We have Dayo Emmanuel Jimo. Oluwatoyin, I believe these people want to hear from you. Thank you. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I'm very glad to be here to also share from my experience and also exchange views and ideas and also hear from other people. I think this would be a good time for me to dive into my presentation. Is that okay, Folashade?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so I've prepared a few slides where I would share, some of my experience. So I think the approach I will adopt will be to probably start from a general view on change management. I've labeled this change management, the people perspective, because there are different angles to change management. There's the people side, which looks like how we engage people and carry people along. There's also the technical side, which is more the project management, creating project plans, looking at budgets, looking at dependencies, the Gantt charts and all of that the project managers will develop in line with this change. But I would focus on my own strong area, which really is how do we carry people along in this change process. So a brief introduction about myself, something outside of work. I'm an HR professional with over 9 years experience. Prior to working in HR, I worked in a bank and I also worked in an oil servicing company. My work with the bank was a brief stint, before deciding, okay, you know what, I would like to work in HR. I've got a BSc in geography from Unilag, Great Akokite, if we've got any in the house. And I've got an MBA from Cardiff Business School. I've worked in consulting, telecommunications, education, and FMCG, as Folashade mentioned earlier. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm many things to many people. I've got 3 children, 2 teenage boys, and I've got a daughter who is 11. I enjoy travel. I like water sports. I like good food, emphasis on good. And I also love to support charity. I mean, there are quite a number of things to do in that space. And I am a Christian. I enjoy my faith very, very much. So if we look at the content, we're going to talk about change management, why change, types of change management. We look at the technical side, the people side, which I've mentioned, and then we'll look at one change methodology. There are different change methodologies that people use. This is the one I have used. I'm quite comfortable with it, and I can tell you my story around it. We look at also the requirements for effective change management, who really is responsible for change, and a few closing remarks. The whole idea is to go through the sort of technical part of it quickly so that I could tell about 2 different change stories I've been a part of just to bring home some practicality for those who may run their own businesses, for those who are in organizations and want to understand how do I practicalize these things that are being spoken about. I would speak to that before we end this. So I just thought to share this by Jack Welch, and I'm sure we all know Jack Welch. He used to be the MD of General Electric. It says, if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. The truth is, the world is constantly changing. What is our reaction to that? Do we want it to remain the same? Or do we anticipate that change and ensure that we're fully ready to take advantage of that change? If we're doing that, what are the things that we're doing? How are we doing them? And how are we carrying the people who work with us along in that process? So I'm just going to show you a few logos, and I don't know if anybody knows what these companies have in common. What they all have in common is that they were once big names. They were once names. I don't know if you all remember the video clubs we used to have in Nigeria. The video club model was modeled after Blockbuster, where we would go rent videos 2-3 days, take them back. The era of BlackBerry, if you did not own a BlackBerry then, you were like an alien. You don't bring a Nokia 3310 near a BlackBerry. We remember the Kodaks, where we go, we buy the film, we put in the camera. They had the disposable cameras. We remember Xerox, but today, where are they? Where are they today? These are companies that did not move quickly with the times. And as a result, they were replaced very, very quickly. I would also show you a few logos that also will be familiar. One company I think that really amazes me is LG, because I remember when I was young, we had a video player called Lucky Gold Star. And I remember a few of those buttons were colorful. If I remember, they were red and yellow or something. But that Lucky Gold Star is actually LG. They went back, they rebranded and came back bigger and more premium. Then they were a bit of a lower brand, but today they are a premium brand. And these are brands that are constantly innovating in that space, anticipating change of consumers and ensuring that they're innovating early enough to be able to meet those change expectations. In some cases, they are the ones who are directing some of the things that you are doing, because they come up with these ideas quickly. Where is the world going? In the next 5 years, where will the world be? And they are the ones who are staying ahead of the game. So going back to the quote I shared earlier, you need to ensure that the external rates of change is not moving at a faster speed than what you are doing in your own organization. And that is why today, if there's any organization that is still manual, it's just a matter of time before that organization goes extinct. If you run a business and you are not online, nobody's going to be able to find you. I remember during the COVID period, a lot of the women in Equari came to the limelight because of young, bright Nigerians who thought of business models and thought, you know what, I can go to Equari, I can take pictures of products, I can put them online. These women are not online, they're old women. Some of them may be illiterate, but they have strong business minds. But I will put their products online. People will buy. All I have to do is get a dispatch rider to pick, and they strike an agreement with these women, and that is how a number of those ladies came online, and their businesses are moving. So if you run a business today and nobody can find you online, then please don't be surprised and be wondering why your business is not growing. So if we go into technicalities now, looking at definitions, change management by Proce is change management is the application of a structured process and a set of tools for leading the people's side of change to achieve a desired outcome. I think a few things will jump out at you there: structure, tools, people, change, intention. There's an outcome. So you're looking at where you want to go. You're looking at the things you need to do to ensure we get there. Now, if we go to Wikipedia, Their own change management definition is broader, somewhat in line with what you've already said. It's saying change management is a collective term for all approaches to prepare, to support, and help individuals, teams, and organizations in making organizational change. It includes methods that redirect or redefine the use of resources, business processes, budget allocations, and other modes of operation that significantly change a company or organization. When we look at change management, I think one thing that is clear is that it is not an accidental thing. It is not something you wake up today and say, oh, I want to do, and tomorrow we're going to start it. It's something that needs to be planned. It's something that needs, first of all, to have a reason, to have an end state in mind. So where are we going? There must be a desired outcome at the end of it. And that allows you to put in those processes, the structure required to ensure that we reach that desired end state. Why change? There are a number of reasons why people want to change. Of course, as capitalists, one thing you'll be thinking of is, I've invested in this country, I've invested in this company, I want to see more revenue, I want to improve my profit margins. Now, there's a time for those who run businesses, particularly those who sell retail products, you know that there are times where you can't necessarily, you may not be able to increase price because you've probably maxed out, your elasticity at that point in time. What you now begin to do is you begin to look internally to say, okay, you know what, if we can't increase price because we can't keep pushing price increases on consumers, can we look inwards to say, how can we reduce our costs? How can we maximize every amount that we are spending internally? Because that is another approach. If you can't increase your price, then look internally. Is there waste? Are there things we need to change? Are there processes, systems we can automate that can give us, that can save us money in the long run? Are there things we can outsource as a business? So we don't, for instance, I worked somewhere once where we had 4 or 5 people working in, was it fleet management, because we had a lot of cars. But we took that and gave it to an outsourced company. And those people, luckily, we were able to put them into new roles, that had been created in the organization. But that was an efficiency you were creating, because then they are responsible for everything that has to do with cars. Lucky you were able to absorb. In an organization where you cannot absorb those people, you may actually have to let them leave, or you may have to help them find jobs in other organizations. Another reason why people change is because they want to become more effective. They want to become more efficient. They want to stay relevant. It's very important. If everything around you is changing and you choose to remain the same, then the end really is near. The last thing is that you may want to improve your organizational culture. We all know that behavior is a very important part of how businesses deliver results. You can't, a business that has excellence as a core value, for instance, would not compromise on the standard of products you send out. Whether it's a digital product, whether you're in consulting, whether you're making consumer goods, you need to ensure that you have a quality assurance unit that reviews what is being produced and you're being put out there. And that only comes by your core values, ensuring that everybody aligns with those behaviors that are expected. If respect is a strong value, you don't expect people to be fighting in the office. You don't expect people to be disrespectful. What you expect is that there will be disagreements, but then you can talk through disagreements. And at times disagreements are good. Conflict can be a very good thing, because then it helps to challenge the status quo. It helps us have rich conversations because there are different viewpoints that we begin to analyze rather than have the one viewpoint at times, which may be the owner of the business viewpoint. So these are some of the reasons why people and why organizations decide that, you know what, we need change. So pick your own reason. Now we go to the different types of change. These are 3 common, I've just put this as 3 common reasons why, I mean, 3 common types of organizational change that people will embark on. The first one I have here is developmental. An organizational change that improves and optimizes previously established processes and strategies and procedure. So you're basically just optimizing what you have already in-house. You're looking at this process. Okay, can we make it more efficient? Okay, well, rather than 3 layers of approvals, okay, 2 will be good, things like that. You're looking at your processes. Are they fully optimized? Why must it go to this department first before going to that department? Why can't it just go directly to this person? So, things that just make delivery timelines easier, faster, more effective. This can also come with empowering people. So for those of us in the fast-moving consumer goods business, one of the things that we find very, very important and we place a lot of emphasis on is empowering the front line. You have a salesman in trade. He needs to take a decision. Have you empowered him to take that decision? At times they don't have 5 hours before they can take that decision. Have you empowered them to be able to make those decisions on the spot and take full responsibility for those decisions that they're taking? Remember, you have competition out there. If competition has empowered and you need to go through a cumbersome bureaucratic process to get things done, then you're going to lose out at sales opportunities. The second we have is transitional. And this is change that moves an organization away from its current state to a new state. So you're saying, there's some things we're manual. It's a lot. This is change that a lot of organizations have gone through in the last 2 years. COVID came in, Zoom went up like 300%. We can't even find Skype anymore because then we were all Skyping before COVID. Now we're Zooming, we're teaming, so a lot of it in terms of automation for organizations, mergers, acquisitions, this is like level 2 type of change. And then the last I have here is transformational change. And this is where you have like radical change, So here you're overhauling everything. It can even start from the way the business is structured, So it may even be a case where a significant number of people, and when I say people now, it could be at top management level, are changed because you want to bring in people with a new way of thinking, new mindset. There's transformation going on here. Here, in some organizations, they actually bring in somebody who leads that transformation agenda, and it would look at everything. It would look at your structure, it would look at your processes, it would look at the tools you use, it would look at your culture, it would look at your efficiencies, and it just helps to make the organization a more agile place to work and ensure that we're delivering also on business results. Now, I talked earlier on about change having 2 sides. There's the technical side, because with every change comes a form of project management. Or at times you have a big project management project, you have a big project that has change management embedded in it. But there is an aspect of this whole change. Sorry, it could be a big change that has project management embedded and still has change management, because somebody has to take care of the technicalities. So you have let me use automation, for instance, which was one thing that we did in one of the organizations I worked in when we were automating some of our processes. We had the IT guys with the whole project management plan, but we were the ones engaging people, informing people about the change, asking people how they feel about the current system that we have, what was good about it, what are the areas for improvement? Because when you're automating, you're not taking a 10-page document and automating it and keeping it as a 10-page document. When you automate, you also want to create efficiencies. So a 10-page document, we're expecting will probably become a 2-page document, will become maybe a 3-page document. So how do you do that? And what we had, one of the people side of it was that we had to carry people along, ask them questions. As we came through different versions, we brought them in to assess. They would look at it, they would say, okay, yes, this looks good. It's easy for people to understand, it's easy for people to flow with, the interface is good, we like it, it's friendly, it's, it's relatable. And then at the end of the day, we had a final user acceptance test where people actually test the end-to-end process before delivering it. You're carrying people along. So these were just a few people. By the time we announced it to the entire organization that it was now ready to use, because we had told them about it, we had told them what we were planning to use, these people who helped us to test now became our change agents in the different departments. So we created PowerPoint slides, because it was a self-service portal we had. We created slides, we put it in a PowerPoint deck, and we had these people in the various departments who now became the change champions in the area. So there's a technical side which the IT guys were dealing with, the changing on the system, the Oracle this and all of that, timelines for delivery and all, they were manning that. We were looking at engaging, also still working closely with the technical guys to ensure that we meet the timeline. So now I'm going to go into the change management model that I have worked with and I'm quite familiar. And it's called Kotter's change management model. It's an 8-step process, and I'm going to take us through the different steps, and then I will tell the story of how I adopted this. So this is one. I like this second slide, and I had to include it because it actually tells you what is being achieved at each point. So step 1, 2, 3, create urgency, build a coalition, create a vision, is preparing the environment for change. So it's like you're preparing the ground, getting people connected, getting people to understand why, what and all of that, where we're going. And then you look at 4, 5, and 6, communicate the vision, empower others, create quick wins, which now has to do with engage and enable the organization. And then you have the last 2 steps, which really are looking at how you implement and you sustain the change. Because it's very important that at the end of a change process, that we are able to sustain it. Sustainability for me is key. So we would look into that. Folashade, how am I doing with time?
You have 10 minutes more. 10 minutes more.
10 minutes more.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I'm just going to move quickly. Creating a sense of urgency is, in my own words, I would say making a case for change. Please, everything I've put here, I can share with you to share with the audience. You can also check online for Kotter's 8 steps. There's an ebook which I actually gleaned all this from. You can get that as well. So if you want to know more, if you're interested in knowing more. But this slide really talks about making a case for change. How do you convince people that we need to change? Very important. This was something I used in one of the presentation slides, of course, when we are trying to ask for more money in the organization. But then again, if you want to help people know why, when I talked earlier on about cost savings within the organization, these are some things you can put forward, to say, look, guys, we need to look inward. Every naira we spend, we need to be able to account for. Every naira we spend needs to be maximized. The second is you're building a coalition team. This is your inner caucus, but this inner caucus now, we're not saying they must all be leaders. Yes, leaders will be a part of it, but we want to have a mix of people. Leaders, junior people, everybody coming together to look at this change that we want to embark on and say, what is the best approach to this change? The third thing is that we are forming a strategic vision. So what is our desired end state? Where are we going? So it's not just change for the sake of change. It's change that makes sense. It's change that is going to add value. And it's change that when people understand, they will embrace and want to be a part of. Then we talk about enlisting a volunteer army. So this is where you go into the wider organization to say, because that coalition team, like I've said, is the inner caucus. Now we want a lot more people. We don't want only the leaders to be leading change because people now feel, I need to listen to my line managers. No. One thing you need to also think about is peer influence. Okay, my friend has told me about this thing. Perhaps I need to listen, to it. So those are some of the things, you want to consider. Who are your influencers in the organization? Who are the people, opinion leaders that people listen to in the organization? Are there people you want to bring on board and enlist as volunteers for this change? We also want to enable action by removing barriers. There's no point in instituting a change and then you have policies that are working against it, or all your processes in-house, do not align with it. No, you want to deliver goods to customers in 24 hours. You now have a process that says the approval process will take 48 hours. That is inhibiting that particular change effort. So you need to be sure that you don't have anything in-house that would serve as a barrier to change. We want to generate short-term wins. How do we allow people to begin to win? How do we want to begin to see results quickly, that we can share with others to encourage others and help people see that something great is going on? I'll tell that story quickly and you would understand. And then how do we sustain this acceleration? How do we create more of those wins? So we had the first one, that we have recorded, but how do we ensure that we continue to create more wins? And then the last thing is, how do we look at processes, policies, behaviors that can help to ensure that this change has come to stay? Are there systems we need to put in place that would ensure that this has come to play? I'm going to share two stories, and they're from two very different organizations. Let's just say let's just name them Project X and Project Y. So I'm going to start with Project X. Project X was a behavioral change initiative. And what happened was that we realized we were working in silos. And we also realized that the system was so hierarchical. So the younger ones felt like their views and opinions did not count. And we decided, you know what, we would make this a project. Why? Because there were things that they had said to us in the survey. So they had already created that burning platform because they wanted a change. Their feedback to us was, this organization is working in silos. The organization is too bureaucratic, is too hierarchical. So they more or less created the sense of urgency. So we built on that and we capitalized on that to say, you know what, if this is what people are saying, let's ride on the tide of this, because we know that they would want to be a part of this. And part of ensuring that we change the mindset of people from negative to positive was to change the wording. So rather than take forward silo and hierarchy forward, we changed it to say, you know what, our vision, we want to promote collaboration and empowerment. So when we looked at the sense of urgency we spoke about earlier on, the platform had been created. When we built the coalition team who looked into it, the vision and the strategy they came up with was collaboration and empowerment, creating an environment where collaboration and empowerment thrive. What did we do in enlisting? We looked at who we would need to carry out this change. What would be the ideal sort of DNA that this individual needs to have to be able to carry out this change effort? And we brought in those volunteers, we put them all in a room, we discussed, we created materials that we were going to use to share. This is an organization with almost 4,000 employees. So we needed to have enough people who will go as far and wide as possible to be able to spread this. What did we do? We empowered them to have conversations. We empowered them. We empowered people as an organization. So in the midst of this change, the MD was also sending out communication to people, encouraging people to take responsibility for certain actions, encouraging line managers, to allow people make mistakes, because they would only learn by that. So by that, we removed any barrier, any fear of, oh, if I make a mistake, oh, what is going to happen to me? No, you know what? Let people do it. And then we started recording wins. Sorry, there's something wrong. Okay. Yeah, so we removed the barriers to change so that people could begin to do things. And then we started generating short-term wins. One of the things we did was to tell people to come and share their success stories. Do a video, share it with us. And this we played across the organization. So when people were telling us about how their line managers have now let them take charge of certain reports, with, have now empowered them to do certain things within the department, even the line manager could see, where we had some form of silos, we had built platforms that would enable communication. So we could even see that the business was saving money because departments were no longer working independently. They were building on synergies. So this department is already doing this, has this vendor. You know what? If we use the same vendor, there can be some cost savings that are coming into the organization. So those wins, we blew them up. Those who were bold enough to come up and share those success stories early, we even gave them vouchers for themselves and their spouses, just to encourage other people. And when people saw that those things were happening, we saw that a lot more people were even stepping forward to ask. But mind you, it was not all rosy because you will still have the people who are still not comfortable with the change. So it's not a case of everybody was on board, no, because with change, it's not always 100%, And then what we did was we now created like a mandate, in terms of how do we want to interact with each other going forward, so the do's and don'ts of those two things, collaboration and empowerment. So that keeps it top of mind for each and every one of us to say, these are the ways in which we want to continue to engage ourselves, as people within this organization to ensure that the vision of collaboration and empowerment is sustained within the organization. We looked into our processes. Anything that seemed too hierarchical, we were able to modify to ensure that people had the right sort of empowerment. A lot of it really was embedded in the ways their KPIs were set. So KPIs were set in a way that allowed people, and we did conduct a survey afterwards, to get people's viewpoints. And we had, I think, about a 75% pass mark, which is why I'm saying not everybody is not 100%, because for some people it will still take time. But I think the fact that we had those quick wins that we were able to project early helped other people to latch onto that, to say, okay, you know what, if this is happening, I can be a part of it. I don't think I have enough time to share the second story. The second story was actually change in an educational sector. Do I have some time for Lashali to share that?
You have just about a minute to go.
Okay, so let me go into the requirements. So from my experience, these are a few of the things I would say. If you want your change management process to be sustainable, you need to communicate. You can never over-communicate. Remember, there are different stages people go through with change. There is denial, there is resistance. Before people start analyzing, maybe from afar, they are watching before they create trust and get to the level of commitment. So communication is very, very important. And you must walk your talk, particularly as leaders in organizations. You must be the change that you want to see. You must demonstrate those behaviors, that you want to see. Agility, adaptability. If this is not working, we need to be able to switch very quickly. We saw a lot of us do that during the COVID era, and we need to be sure we're able to do that. Openness. Don't let people think there's a hidden agenda in what it is you want to do, because trust is a very important index for change. Collaboration. You can't do it alone. If you have all the money in the world, you can't move that change effort yourself. You need people. So collaboration internally or with external stakeholders, if they're part of it, is very, very important. Follow through. So you don't just do it and end it there. No, you have to continue. One of the things I like and the ways they were able to sustain that change was that they had a bigger transformation project that occurred the year after, which this change process was now embedded in. You have to manage your stakeholders effectively. Everybody in that organization is an important stakeholder. And the last thing I have here is patience. You need to be patient because it takes time. So who is responsible for change? 2 slides. We don't want managers to manage our change. We want leaders to lead. Leaders are an important stakeholder in this change. You must model what you want to see. If you say we should automate, don't be the first person going through manual processes. Show everybody by being the one to champion it, no matter how difficult it seems for you. And the second thing I have here is that the best way to cope with change is to help create it. So this talks to everybody else in the organization. When you're afraid of change, rather than sit in your corner and be scared, please be a part of it. Understand it, understand the why of change, and be a part of that process. Be one of those who will help create it. That is the only time, you are sure that you have actually contributed something. By being resistant and staying in a corner, the business is going to leave you behind, believe me. So if you want to be sure that you remain relevant in that organization, then, take a chance on being a part of it and helping to create that change. I think that is my last slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oluwatoyin. I have a lot of comments here. Sheifumi Afolabi reiterated your point, says collaboration, which you mentioned as part of the requirement for effective change management. Peter Dibe says we should give you more time. Don't worry, Peter Dibe. Oluwatoyin is going to be with us at the panel session, and we are going to answer all the questions. And we have another user here, Mrs. Fire Williams says, Ms. Fire Williams says, we all need people prepared to spare change in our organizations. And Sheifumi also mentioned that we should eliminate conflicting processes, just like you rightly mentioned. Thank you so much, Oluwatoyin. Now, before we go into the second business of the day, please let's hear from our chief sponsor, Stride ERP. Thank you. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Successful business owners know that with the right tool, you can make business easy and grow fast. That is why we have created Stride ERP, Africa's #1 all-in-one cloud-based business system. It's everything you need to grow and manage your business all in one place. Whatever you are doing in revenue, Stride ERP is the tool you need to scale up. You get to manage your business on the go, finance, inventory, HR, customers, and more. Stride ERP is trusted by over 5,000 users. Schedule your free product tour right now at striderp.com.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Business and Change Management Summit 2022. My name is Folashade Abolade. You can join us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. We had an insightful session with Toyin, and it was the comments and the questions. She's going to join the panelists, and all the questions will be asked. And I'm very sure that Toyin is ready to provide solutions and answers to our questions. Now, to go into the second business of the day, but before we do that, we want to give a shout out to our chief sponsor, Stride ERP. Stride ERP, which is Enterprise Resource Planning Software, is an innovation aimed at helping small and medium enterprises automate their business processes. Integrating Stride into your business gives you an immediate advantage over your competitors. Head over to their website at striderp.com for amazing and budget-friendly packages. And big shout out to our other partners, RightGate Limited, Shetuam Homes, Simply Exponential, Royal Renacido, and Mitosat. Don't forget, you can jump in on the conversations on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Pick up your questions. Don't also forget that we have exciting prizes to be won by individuals and organizations. Now, to the second business of the day. Today, I have amazing guests with me. panelists who will be sharing from their world of experience with us today. As they talk, you will discover that they all have something in common. Every one of them, at some point of their lives, have said yes to change. These are people, they are living proof that the distance between who you are today and everything that you desire is how much of change you are willing to take. And we have carefully chosen the speakers and this panelists. And in no particular order, I am going to introduce them to us. The first person here on my list is Temitope Richard Banji. Temitope Richard Banji is a strong advocate of the future of work and HR transformation. And why is it the best fit to be here? Temitope possesses practical knowledge in talent management, change management, executive recruitment, HR transformation, organizational design, culture transformation, performance management, coaching, and mentorship, as well as learning and development, coupled with strong analytical and presentation skills. Temitope Richard Banji, over the years, has actively been involved in several transformational projects towards building systems and structures across Africa, North America, and UK. He has worked in notable organizations like Deloitte, Access Bank, Leap Africa, MasterCard Foundation, BPR Advisory, and HR Mervyn. The second speaker on our list is a superstar in no particular orders, ladies and gentlemen, is a superstar in her chosen field. She is a strategic advisor with expertise in business strategy formulation, as well as project, risk, and organization change management. She has over 15 years of experience working with reputable public and private sector organizations within and outside Nigeria. During this time, she has formulated business strategies that has impacted the bottom line of organizations she has worked with by over 80%. She has successfully managed several projects worth over 10 million US dollars, and 95% of these projects were delivered the expected benefit within the predetermined time frame. As a change management practitioner, she has designed and implemented change management strategies that led to the successful adoption of new technology and operational modalities. Knowing the benefit of change management, she serves on the Faculty of Organization Change Management in Iran, where she conducts research in order to garner insights into effective change management practices. In the last 7 years, she has actively facilitated project management capacity building programs within and outside Nigeria. They currently works with the regulator of the largest pension industries in Africa, where she contributes to the formulation of policies, guidelines, and framework for the investment of pension funds worth over 34 million US dollars. She also bagged an MBA in Risk and General Management. She's a recipient of the African Women Industrialization Award 2022 Woman of the Year. She was also recently nominated for the 2022 Inspirational Influencer Award by International Association of Women. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Imade Oswebene. The third person on my list here, in no particular order, is a business process transformation expert. He has over 15 years of experience in disruptive process transformation projects covering process optimization, standardization, policy changes, process automation, including robotics process automation, business continuity, and change management. He started his career as a trainee consultant in Don Mitchell & Co. Limited, a management consultancy firm, before joining the the defunct Oceanic Bank, now EcoBank, as a business process analyst. He quickly grew both in hierarchy and responsibility, becoming the head of continuous process improvement unit, and then after that, becoming the head of business process re-engineering department for EcoBank, a position he had before joining Premier MFB as the Chief Operating Officer. He is a graduate of geology from Nnamdi Azikiwe University and holds a Master of Business Administration in Strategic Management and Leadership. He is a certified business analyst professional and is the seventh professional to obtain that certificate in Nigeria. A project management practitioner, a certified change management practitioner, and an agile project delivery manager. Ladies and gentlemen, he is no other person but Buchi Nwosu. The last person on my list, in no particular order, is Julius Okaso. He is a human resource strategist with specialty in performance management, recruiting, training, and development. He works currently as the HR business partner with James Cubitt Facility Managers, an arm of the international James Cubitt Group. Before joining them, he worked as the human resource manager at RXO Incorporated Nigeria, a Pan-African startup providing access to authenticated medicine, an AI tech that helps regulators, pharmacies, and hospitals gain access to authenticated medicines. He holds a chartered certification and license in human resources management from the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, Nigeria. He's an author and a regular speaker, passionate about leadership, workplace management, psychology, governance, and national transformation. Welcome, Julius Okaso. And joining us on the panel will be Oluwatoyin Ismail, our keynote speaker. Will be joining the panelists also. Thank you. Welcome from my screen here. Welcome Imade. Welcome Temitope, Oluwatoyin, Julius, and Buchi. Thank you. Please, can you unmute so that
Thank you.
know that we can get together. Thank you so much. It's so nice to have you here. And so I have comment from Awa Abdullahi Agbola. It says, Buchi, our Agile Master Buchi, that's for you. It says, welcome. Welcome. So I have greetings here for Imade and for Oluwatoyin. They say, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I just read that from our Facebook users, our participants on Facebook. Thank you. So to the business of the day. The first question that I will ask, and the question will go to Buchi. Buchi, please. Our keynote speaker already helped us to define change management, so we're not going to spend much time on that. But Buchi, please, can you tell us what's change management? Change management, a definition that is appealing to our audience, entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals. Buchi, over to you.
Well done, Olashade. Can you hear me, please? Can you confirm that you can hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, Buchi.
Okay. So, for me, change management, if you want to practicalize change management, is the ability to convince a business owner or a process owner to take charge of happenings within his or her domain in line with leading practices. So for me, that's feedback on the survey you did where someone mentioned that change management is scam. And I'm wondering, that means they are looking at change management from the outside as if they are not the person that are meant to drive the change. If I'm using a feature phone and I want to use a smartphone, I need to convince myself that a smartphone is better than a feature phone. So it's just that ability to convince the process owner to take charge and take responsibility of what's happening in his or her space or domain in line with what's the current trend in the industry. For me, that's change management. That ability
Thank you.
underlined to convince. Yeah.
Thank you, Buchi. Thank you. Temitope, would you like to jump in on the conversation? What does change management means to you?
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, I will personally say that change management is really all about managing expectations, right? It's all about managing expectations, especially in a volatile and in a dynamic, ever-changing environment, be it personal or be it in the corporate space, right? So change management is really managing expectations, preparing for what is to come, right? And not waiting for something that has happened before, like the general saying, when we get to the bridge, we will cross it. That actually negates change management, right? Because by the time you get to the bridge, you realize you didn't have the tools necessary for you to cross that bridge. Then you now need to go back. They don't actually, embed change management in their process. So I would say change management is really managing expectations and preparing for, to adapt to changes that would constantly happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Temitope. So you have it from Buchi and Temitope. And the next question, thank you so much. Buchi, the next question is to you. Could you please distinguish between business transformation, from your field, and change management? Is there a difference between business transformation and change management, Buchi?
Yeah, there's a lot of people think that can say they are similar, but there's a distinct difference between business transformation and change management. So change management is the ability to help an organization to accept change. But transformation is adjusting the organization to be prepared for the requirement for the future. So adjust towards your organizational future plans. That's transformation, transforming from a traditional banking model to a digital banking model. You need to plan and adapt for the requirement for that future. So that's business transformation. But for you to manage business transformation and adjust towards the organizational future plan depends on your change management skills. The ability to carry everybody along, to transform to your desired end state. If you don't have that change management skills, it will be a struggle because everything is about people's side of change, because it can't change without people. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of that people side of it. I will explain or explore or define it better as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you, Buchi. Thank you. Imade, would you like to jump in on that? What do you think?
Okay, so Buchi, thank you for that. I'll just say change management is a driver, right? It helps people and organizations. One of those results is transformation. So let's look at the definition of change, right? Change is saying you want to transit from one point to another. So you're looking similar. Let's use, right? So you might have a dark-skinned girl. After a while, she becomes brown skin, right? That would be change. But you have a dark-skinned girl. After a while, she becomes white. Usually is significant, is huge, it affects the core of who you are. So you can be dark skin on your face and be brown on your body. So it's just one part. So for change, it's not usually, most times, at the units, departments, some systems, some process. But for transformation, it is shaking the core. It is shaking And it's saying, how do we help people move from point A to point B? Like Uchi said, change is important. It's a driver. So it's like the river that floats the boat of transformation. And for transformation is one of the outcomes when you successfully implement change with a desired future state. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Imade. Imade, so sorry, I'm going to take the next question for you. So moving away from that, we have taken time to define change management and what's the difference between business transformation and change management is. So let's talk about what are the, Oluwatoyin mentioned, some of the pushbacks and the challenges if you're not doing the right thing with change management. Tell me, what are the most common challenges that you have experienced in your years of experience, in your years of working, that you have experienced with change management? What are the common challenges with implementation of change management?
Yeah, before I answer your question, I'll just say, just to bust everybody's bubble, for those that are listening, right? Change is like the resistance to change is natural and unavoidable, all right? But the truth is, it is predictable and it can be managed. And the first challenge is the resistance. Like, people are scared. So a typical example, I don't know if you've done this these games at trainings. If you tell people, I'm looking like this, change something, the first thing people do is remove something. So people associate change to loss, that they are losing something. That is the natural response to change. I'm losing something. And that comes with fear. That comes with, what do I stand to lose? So the thing I've experienced the most is the fear that comes with change. People are saying, what do I stand to lose? How is this going to affect my work? How is it going to affect me? How will this impact my bottom line? How will this impact my KPIs? So I've seen that fear a lot. And the good news is, like I said earlier, that fear is natural. It's natural. And I've seen that fear a lot in the course of my journey. And again, that fear just speaks to, what do I stand to lose? I've seen people say, oh, if we implement this process, I lose my relevance. Most people thrive on bureaucracy. In organizations, people enjoy that power tussle. It has to come to me for approval, which is good, right? But it creates several steps of approval. And people are used to that power struggle where I seem to be the one in charge. So when you're changing something, especially processes and structures, people are saying, how will this affect me? How will I become redundant? And that fear is what I've seen the most in the course of my career.
Thank you so much, Imade. Oluwatoyin, do you want to share your thoughts before I put a question from one of the participants to you?
Yes, I mean, just following on from what Imade said, and I think, that's why when you make the case for change, it's also important to share what's in it for them, because when we let them know early that, yes, there's a case for change, we need to change, but this is what is in it for us. This is what we stand to benefit from it. To some extent, we would reduce that fear. You can't eliminate it 100% because at times it has to do with the makeup of certain individuals, But I think that, and as I said, communication is very key. You can't over communicate, when it comes to things around change.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if I can quickly say something there.
Yes, please, Julius, please.
Okay.
Try.
From my own experience, I think the things that have been much of a challenge for me is two things, from the employees angle and from the management angle. There is usually an approach with which they both think. The management of an organization usually have an attitude sometimes of trying to manage resistance because they want to force change through. I think the first step is actually to even understand the reason for resistance. And when they are planning to implement a change process, they usually do not have much of a stakeholders thinking. It's more of, okay, this is what we have decided. This is what is best. But the advantage of having a shared thought, collaboration, is that you will have a bigger picture of how the change could impact every other part of your of your plan and the team. And with so doing, you will be able to even know and compare the advantages and the disadvantages of trying to implement that change effort. Is it worth it? Is it needed? Are the advantages more than the disadvantages? But if that gap is there, if you go ahead with your change effort, it might fail. Plans fail, products fails, businesses fail. So even your change plans also can also fail if you don't have a sense of collaboration to want to hear. You can see it and say, okay, this is great, this is fantastic, but you need to bring the thought of other people, having a sense of outside-in thinking and inside-out thinking, so that you have a broad understanding of what you're trying to do and how to provide the necessary support to reduce the resistance that might come with it. So I think that's for me in my own experience.
Thank you,
Can I
Julius.
add a
Thank you.
point? Or is it too much?
Okay.
Can I add a point?
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, so that's why I said if you're able to convince the owner of that change, because let's be real. If a change is going to happen, I'm the CEO of Primera Bank. I won't be the executor of that process or that change. So if a change is going to happen, and in line with what Adka said in ProSci, you have to create the right awareness. If the change will impact operations, the head of operations should be aware that something is happening, and the head of operations should accept it before the actual project starts. So if that doesn't happen, and you use, because I'm management, whatever they want, you will finish that project, you execute that project, but there won't be any adoption or usage of that change. And so on the books, I've executed, but adoption, everybody's just looking at you. So there's a very, very important critical success factor that you get the right awareness and create the inner desire for the owner to accept that change. And once that one is done, you can start your project. I can give you some life examples for that if you want.
Okay.
Do you want me to share some practical examples?
That's one. That's fine. Please go ahead. One.
So there's this project where I work, a big technology project. So it wasn't moving. So I found out that there was a small project team created for that big project for the bank. And when I came, I applied a little bit of change management practice. I technically disbanded that project team and moved each module to the owner of that project. If you're operations, anything relating to operations, handle it. If you're finance, anything finance, handle it. So the heads of those departments became the project team members. And with time, we went live with that project, and everybody accepted any challenge that was seemingly difficult. And today we are live with that project.
Thank you, Buchi. I mean, the instance you gave now, or the experience you shared now, is quite insightful. So, riding on what Buchi said, you mentioned while you were giving your keynotes address, you spoke about some technical aspect of change, technical side, people side. Tell me, which of these sides now? Where do you begin from? What do you change first? Who do you change first? Is it the technology or the people? Or are there instances where all you need to do and not even you don't need to automate any process?
No, you see, like Buchi said, it's about the people. Once the mind has been convinced, and that's why I think with ProSci and with Potter, they all start, even though looking at it from different angles, with creating that buy-in. The sense of urgency is designed to create a buy-in. The awareness is designed to create a buy-in. What I was trying to say in terms of the technical and people side is that there's an angle of change management that is purely project management. Somebody has to project manage that change. Do you understand? But there's an angle which is the softer side that deals with the people, because you can project manage a project that people are disengaged from. So going back to his example, they had this big project in the technology company, but people were not really engaged. He came in and changed the approach to it, and then people became more engaged. So I don't know that you can separate both, because in doing that, I think he was also probably project managing, or there was a project manager assigned to it, because there are still timelines to be met. There are still costs you're going to work within. There are still dependencies you're going to look at. There are going to be reportings. Do you understand? If anything is slowing the project down, you still need to report that and things like that. So all of that so for me, they work concurrently. But it all starts with that buy-in from the beginning. Without that buy-in, every other thing you're doing can be a waste of time. Will be a waste of time. So that buy-in at the beginning, I think, is really what is important.
Okay. Sorry, can I ask something, please? Sorry.
Okay, please go ahead,
Just to add what she has just said, right? Because people I'm also a project manager. I'm also a change practitioner, so I get the both side of the world, right? People, the technical side, like she said, is project management. But we interest you to know that projects on their own don't yield any benefits. Projects only create outputs. It's only when people engage the outputs that you get benefits, which is why people are important. And if you look at all the project management framework globally now, they've added the people side of change. Because there was a survey that KPMG did, and 50% of the respondents said their projects did not give any benefits because the people side of change was not managed. So you can spend 1 billion on the project. You can manage the project successfully. But these days, one of the criteria for project success is benefits realization. And that can only happen when people engage your project output, which is why that engagement with people must start at the beginning. It must start when you're doing the project. So they're equally aware. And which is why if you have big projects, you have a project manager and a change manager that will have the change management plan for that project. So that while you are managing the project, you have somebody on ground who is managing the people side of change. And to put this in perspective, if you look at the statistics, whether you spend 1 billion naira, if people don't engage it, you wasted your money. Because like I said in the beginning, you only get output from projects, not benefits. So if you're a business owner listening to me right now, everything you're doing is riding on how well you can manage change. If you even look at your marketing plans, I was looking at marketing recently and I just saw the whole outcome model. Marketing is helping people move from one point to another point, and that's change management. So if you see the way marketing is structured, you want to move people from one point to another. So you're creating awareness, you're creating desire. I could see the whole outcome model playing out in marketing. But as a business owner on this call, you must take change management seriously. It forms the core of your business. Because again, as a business owner, you implement projects to achieve your objectives. And if you don't manage people, you won't get results. You will not get results.
Yeah, can I add to that, please?
Okay. Oh, please go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, in line with what Imade said. Okay, let me also give a brief explanation. We have mentioned ADCA. Not all of us, the audience might not understand what ADCA is. ADCA is A is for awareness, D for desire. Awareness is awareness of the change. D is for desire to be part of the change. K is knowledge, knowing, investing in knowledge, and A is ability to implement the change. R is reinforcement. It's in line with the model that Tony also mentioned. It's just the same, they are the same objective. So in line to help business owners, the question I will ask any business owner or even process owner, even executive, is that any change or any project that you want to embark on, how do you define the success or the result, like what Imade said? the definition of the success will help you define whether you need people or not. Now, if I change a process, I've documented, I've gotten approval, I've gone live. The success of utilization or adoption of that process is if people or staff start using it. The same applies for technology. I need people to use it, adopt it, and use it for me to say this project is successful or is achieving the desired results. If I want to renovate an office, I might not need people. I would just get the bed designer and paint. Once you start, if you come in, we work on your desk. So you're at your desk. So you don't need people to decide the color or the brand you want to use. It's just in line with few executive, you can make that decision. But I know from experience that like 90% of the projects that we do or change, be it modification of policy or digitization, automation, transformation, 90% of it is dependent on people adopting, on accepting, and using what we are proposing. So if we understand it from that angle, we will look at change management from another perspective. So I have the billions, like Imade said. I've gone live with my ERP, Stride ERP, but I'm a user. The MD won't use the Stride ERP. I'm a user. I don't understand jack about what they are talking about. Okay, you're the MD. You've gone live. I'll be looking at the system. You're looking at me, and you can't sack everybody, and you can't force it down the throat of everybody. So you must understand that if 90% or 95 or 99% of the success of your project is on people, you need to invest in people to understand the reason for change and not changing. Thank you.
Thank you, Buchi. Over to you now, Temitope and Buchi. So, sorry, Temitope and Julius. I'll take Julius first. Julius, please, let's talk about HR-related change management. How does user adoption, work culture, how do you relate that as it relates to change management? Julius, just a moment before you state your opinions. We have user from YouTube. It says, create awareness and ensure it is accepted, reiterating what Buchi and Imade said. It's very true, Buchi. Then we have exactly, somebody's agreeing with Tony and Buchi to say 100%. I agree with you. Then there's another user on YouTube says the process in change management is teaching people on the usage. Thank you if you're just joining us. This is the Business and Change Management Summit 2022. And with me here, I have amazing panelists. I have Imade, I have Temitope, Julius, Oluwatoyin, and Buchi. Over to you, Julius. Please tell me, change management, work culture, user adoption, how do you relate them?
Okay. For me, to bring all of this together, my idea is usually that prepare people for change before change is ever needed, which is the place of training, in the sense that whether you have a change plan in place or not, carry out a training on change management for all the employees, starting from the management, the line managers, who can as well also train others so that they can have that preparedness in terms of change. And the other aspects that I will share from my experience, I think there was a time that we had a need, not my current place of employment anyway. There was a need that we had to implement a layoff plan, which definitely is going to have an impact on general employee. And I realized that the major thing that I find very key at implementing that plan is communicating change, not from a distance. When you want to implement a change, that is going to have a general impact on the employee, you will need to avoid communicating from a distance by just sending a mail and saying this and that. My own approach was that I had to have a direct engagement. Either you do a Zoom meeting or you go there directly and meet with the people in the sense that you have to communicate with empathy and you must have win their trust in the sense that you now say, okay, this is what we are trying to do. Because why? This change plan is going to have a huge impact on them. But if you communicate from a distance, it will be difficult for you to manage resistance. So you have to bring all of them together in the sense that even while you are sharing your thought on the change plan, provide the options. In fact, let them be involved in it. Okay, if we go this way, these are the things, these are the advantages and the disadvantages. And I realized that in my own approach, I experienced maybe, and I'm not exaggerating, maybe like 10% resistance because I communicated with empathy and I did not communicate from a distance. I made all the options open, I involved them and engaged them, and it was easy to lead a team through that transition. We had to let some people go, and there was no struggle. Why? Because they saw the reason for the thing. The business was going down. It was either the business or some part of the team goes. And even at that, the way you communicate to the team of your change plan matters a lot. And more importantly, communicate with empathy. And before time, make sure you are operating with trust. And I think that's my thought on that.
Thank you so much. Julius, please jump in on the conversation. What culture, user adoption, HR-related change management? What are your opinions?
All right, thank you very much. I mean, it feels like everyone has said everything. So I'll just come from a different point of view, right? And I would like to take us a step back, right? Do organizations, do business leaders even know what change management is all about? And most importantly, when to implement change management? I think that's one missing piece that a lot of organizations do not pay attention to. So for me, from my experience, change is something that happens often, but there are specific times that change needs to happen. There is a new leadership, you need change management. There is a new system. So we've talked about the project side of things, but when you're instituting or implementing a new software in an organization, a new system, you need change management. If there is a new policy, you need change management. If there is COVID happened, right? Organizations just expected people to work from home and expecting delivery without a proper change management on how are these people going to cope? How are they going to deliver? What does this mean for them? You need change management. Now, return to office. People are already used to, working from home for almost 2 years. Now we have organizations bringing them back to the office. You actually need change management because you've recruited people during the work from home period. Yes. New people have joined, some people have left, so you need change management. I just had to bring that context to let the business owners and in the audience understand when change management happens. Now, change management comes with resistance, just like everything in life. And I love the analogy Imade give. When they say change something, people will remove it. But change is literally taking it from here to here. That is actually change in itself. Now, what is the process of change? What I encourage is it is very important for business leaders to do what we call a change impact assessment. It is very key. And I love the way Buchi explained the stakeholder mindset. No, it was, I think, Julius that talked about the stakeholder mindset. Now, when you're doing a change impact assessment, you're looking at both the people that this change is going to affect. And whether we like it or not, the change will affect you as the leader, the change will affect your employees, and the change will affect your customers and your partners and your funders. So when you're doing a change impact assessment, I'll use a random example, right, of, let's say, a merger and an acquisition, right? Or let's just say merger and acquisition. Now, your employees are going to be asking a lot of questions. Am I going to lose my job? Who am I going to be working with? What does this mean for my salary? What does this mean for my career growth? What does this, a million and one questions. During your change impact assessment, you would have actually been asking those potential questions that will be coming to the mind of employees. What does this mean for the people who serve? There will be panic in the system. If you're changing your business name, there will be panic in the system. You need to come up with a change management plan. If you need to address your customers, you need to come up with, everything. How does this impact them? So once you've done that, then you now need to think about, how do I address this? And that is where the communication now comes in. You cannot speak about change without talking about communication. Now, you now come up with a communication plan for each of those critical stakeholders. For my employees, I am the CEO. I need to step forward. Guys, we are introducing a new system. This system is going to help us achieve XYZ. We were making XYZ before. With this system, our work will be faster, more efficient. We can reach out to more people. None of you is going to lose your job. You need to first calm them down. Then you now go to your external stakeholders, right? Stakeholders, this change that is happening in an organization is to enable us serve you better. We have a new leadership, we have a new system. This system will reduce the physical time you have to come to our office to do XYZ. This application, you can do this, you can do that. You need to come with that. That does not still stop the resistance, right? But what you've done is you are just taking your employees on a change journey. You have created awareness that something is changing. You've created general understanding by communicating what is changing and how this is going to impact them, and trying to manage their fears. Then you now need to get to the point of personal understanding, and that's where change champions come in. You look for people within your organization that they have the ears and of other people. You leverage on these people. So, for example, I used to be someone that everyone comes to, what's happening? We heard this, we heard that. And I try to tell them, no, guys, it's not an issue. It's just for us to, you need to now onboard change champions, let them know their responsibility is to manage, the fears of our people, and also manage the fear that may be coming out from the public. Then you've created personal understanding. And I always say something, there's a big role of leadership in managing change. Now, as a leader, you now need to step forward, conduct like a stakeholder forum where you have your employees, your stakeholders, your partners, your customers, major representative. Then you now also announce this in like a form of town hall, right? Then you get their commitment. Before you end that kind of session, you need to start asking your key customers, your key employees, are you guys fine with it? Do you guys think it's a great idea? Just to start getting their willingness to accept. Then we now realize that there is adoption, and you've gotten to a place of, ownership. And I always say something, the key to successful change management is to have a solid understanding of challenges that are likely to arise during transformations or when new things are happening, in order to build holistic communication and change management, basically. So for me, I always say, if we go through that process, we need to understand when things are happening, there is need for change. And sorry to also jump in, I know time has gone. One mistake a lot of business owners make is change management is usually an afterthought. And I personally have done big change projects as a consultant, and I've also been burnt when change management was an afterthought. A quick example I will give is when I worked with MasterCard Foundation, we introduced a new LMS, learning management system. Right? Yeah. We introduced it, and 3 months down the line, we noticed there was no uptake. But it was more like we shoved it down their throats. So we now take a step back to now start thinking, what did we do wrong? And what we did wrong was taking the feedback of the people. So it's a multinational organization. We have French speakers who could not use it. The LMS did not consider the fact that it was a non-profit organization, right? The LMS did not consider the fact that there were different generations within the organization. So the contents that were there was appealing to some and not appealing to some. We had Indians, we had Kenyans, we had Nigerians, we had different categories of people. So what that made me realize is these were things I should have considered. Who are the users? How is this going to benefit who? What do we need to include in this? So we now had to go back, but we have a lot of business leaders who would not apologize for that. They just feel this is how we are running. take it. This is the new policy, run with it. This is the new, run with it. So I think that is just the little I would like to share in terms of change management, my experience from the people side, from transformation, and from project, because I believe, I mean, everyone has done justice to it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Can you give me can you give me
Yeah, I'll give you
30 seconds?
I'll give you yes, while I give you the 30 seconds, I have comments here from Facebook. Someone, Wana Esang, says, I'm learning so much. Olalekan says, I agree with you, Julius, regarding training and again engaging the people involved. This is very key. When the Black says, do not communicate change from a distance. Carry everyone along with empathy. Lesson from Julius. Well said. Thank you. Please, Buchi. Then the last one, I said, thank you so much, Buchi. I have Isaac here. Thank you so much, Buchi. Okay, please go ahead, Buchi.
So the angle I want to bring to this discussion is the what's in it for me. Tony was mentioning during her presentation. So if we can define what's in it for the staff or the employee and just dish out the instruction that we are changing, that project is the change project is already a failure. And the best way to answer that question is to even order the supervisors, that the middle managers. Are they into the change? Do they believe in the benefits? You know, when you list out all the benefits, they might not be listening to you. I'm sorry, I have a lot of experience.
Yes.
They just want to understand how the benefits relates to me. How does it affect me? Yes, you're saying the nice words about the organization, but what about me? So you need to, once you get that clarity, because as an executive, there should be different channel of communication. Your general email should be different to the mail you're sending to your ESCO, the mail you're sending to the MANCO, the mail you're sending to the front end, because it needs to communicate how the message will affect me. And the one of the models to explain it for supervisors, like now, if I sit there and a supervisor comes back from a meeting that I called for a change initiative, and the supervisor said that Buchi said that we should, Buchi said that we will do this, or management has said that we should do this. That change, there's already a resistance. Yes. But if the same supervisor comes and says, we need to do this because 1, 2, 3 will benefit us, then the end user will accept it. So the supervisor needs to be the communicator, the liaison officer, the resistance manager, because at their level, technically speaking, their direct reports, who they see as their CEO or their MD or executive is their supervisor, because that's the one they relate to on a day-to-day basis. So if there's no buy-in at the middle managers level, there'll be an issue in succeeding. I needed for us to also relate the change as per getting it down to an individual level for us to be able to answer what's needed for me, for everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, Buchi. Thank you so much. Now, talking about explaining change management from an individual level of analysis. Tony, I have a question. So the question is this: we know that HR is not specific to, change management is not specific to HR, but is there a reason why, people look to HR when there's a need for change or when something, so Buchi mentioned very importantly that individuals or employees begin to ask, what is in it for me? So the person who comes to the employee's mind is the HR. Can you explain why that is so? Why is that the HR is more renowned when there's a change management issue?
Okay, so I think one of the first reasons is because HR is usually the first one that connects with this employee at the candidate level. So you need to fill a role in your organization. The first person you have a connection with is usually an HR person who reaches out, oh, we have this role. During the course of your interview, you build that connection, that rapport with your HR person. With the HR person, you come into the organization, the HR person is the one who inducts you, of course, along with other people, but there's a lot HR is responsible for. So people automatically build a bond with HR. Beyond the fact that HR is responsible for people, you are the first connection any employee or potential employee has with the organization more often than not. I think also because the key responsibility of HR is to manage the people who are we say, and we can see now it has shown, are the most important resource that an organization owns. It's only natural that they will go back. At times they see you as the mommy of the organization, irrespective of who is in that role. And I think it's also a good point because they also see it as a safe haven. We don't expect HR to lie to us. So HR, what is really going on, And I think that is why also, by way of our training in terms of how to manage people, how to manage communication with them, you're seeing that there's a lot more partnership going on between HR and other aspects of the business. So for instance, branding, you want to do like an employer brand, HR is working closely with marketing. Communication, you find out that HR is working closely with whoever the employee the customer experience person is. HR is acquiring some of those skills from other people within the organization to be able to manage the workforce better. If we focused on just core HR skills alone, we may not be able to. But because I would partner with a project manager in the organization, when they come to meet me, I can actually speak to that project. I can tell them, look, this is what is going on. This is what is happening. This is where the business is going. And remember, HR evolved from admin hire fire to being a true business partner. So you can speak to where the business is going, why the business is doing what it is. But I think a lot of it, one is because HR is the primary people resource, but also there's a connection that is built. So you find a lot of people saying, oh, my HR business partner, because that HR business partner has embedded himself or herself within the unit and is getting to know people and building trust. And that's the way it should be. Can you imagine if they were in an organization where they were worried and afraid and there was nobody they could talk to? That would be a big disaster. Ideally, we want that first question, like Buchi has said, to go to the line manager. That would be the best, do you understand, situation? Yes, but sure. It's still okay till we also build those capabilities in line managers, because if the line manager himself is not convinced, then it's not likely that he'll be able to explain it in the best way.
Thank you, Toye. If you're just joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, this is the Business and Change Management Summit 2022. I have amazing panelists with me. I have Imade, I have Femi Thokbe, Oluwatoyin, Julius, and Buchi, and we have been having the conversations. You can jump in on the conversation, drop your questions or your comments in the comment section, and we'll attend or react to them. Thank you so much. Okay, so back to you, honorable panelists. I have a question for you, Imade. Now, corporate organizations, they are under pressure. Let's talk about the recent, the quote and unquote JAPA. Employees, professionals are trying to seek greener pastures in other countries. And this has put a pressure on corporate organizations in our own country here. So they want to exhibit enhanced responsiveness to the challenges of change while people living. They're under pressure to exhibit greater organizational excellence than ever before, because people are having to move and they are trying to seek greener pastures. Imadi, please, how can we solve some of these problems? How can we solve these challenges, or how can organization reduce this pressure that is getting worse? All right.
The pressure is getting worse. Okay, so I think this is a good point to just write on what Puchi said earlier, right? We need to determine what is within our sphere of influence as an organization. The truth is, a recent survey was conducted. And if you look at the results, I can't share it now because it has not been published, but I can just give you a brief. The reasons why people are Japaning is beyond what a particular corporate can respond to. That's the truth. So you must know what is within your sphere of influence. And like Julius said, you must know if this change is worth it. Because recently we did a policy where I'm working with some company to reduce Japan, but it's not working because it's not within their sphere of influence. What people are looking for is not what a particular corporate can give. Can you give dual citizenship? Can you give better economy as a corporate? Can you give them a second education? Can you give them what they're looking for? So the first thing, like Julius said, you must know what is within yours. You must know what you can control. And you must know what is beyond your control. That reduces the pressure. And secondly, take what is within your control and create policies that can address it. I'm currently with University of Oxford Business School, right? And we are doing this whole idea of evidence in public policy. How can we better create policies that make sense, that are not reactive, that respond to the issues at hand, and that can give the outcomes that are desired? Because most times we create policies that cannot respond to any issue because those policies don't even understand the base of the issue. So to answer your question, for every corporate listing here, Japan is beyond your control because you cannot give what people are looking for. You cannot help them hedge their naira against the dollar. So even if you pay them 1 million naira, it's still naira. They want foreign currency to hedge the inflation. So there are lots of issues that are outside your corporate control. Don't put pressure on yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Imade. I know you want to react, but hold on. I want.
Temitope is a Japanese, so let him react.
He's going to react, but just give me a moment. Now, Buchi, you are a C-level executive. Please, what do you have to say to this?
I concur 100% with Imade. You just need to be that's a fact. You just need to be creative and innovative in managing.
This guy. I'm saying so you don't have what employees are looking for.
I say who has? Even the federal government doesn't have it. So it's just for us to now be flexible, identify those critical skills that you need to sustain your business and for your business to excel. Create a system of nimbleness and flexibility and continuity, such that regardless of what is happening, Japan that is happening, so outsourcing, grooming, training, exposing your staff to new skills, creating a kind of a positive energy within your organization so that it can do spirit. Some of your staff that are still with you can take up some new roles. And in where I work, we are an agile organization, so we create this kind of self-organizing teams, and don't make it be that you have key man resources in any particular role. Just kind of diffuse the critical skills that you need so that we can sustain even as the Japan is happening. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, Temitope, we are going to take your thoughts now, and you also give your final advice. We'll take your thoughts now. Your final advice from you. We'll move to Julius. Please go ahead. Oh, just a moment before you go ahead. So someone says, a user on Facebook says, Jack Mine, so funny in my day. Then someone says, thanks a million, Mrs. Toyin. Another user says, so true, Toyin. This is so insightful. Temitope, please let's have you. 30 seconds. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try my best in 30 seconds. So while I agree with everything they've said, it's a national pandemic. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's a global issue, right? People are moving from India to the UK, from UK to Australia to Portugal. It's a global pandemic, right? So now, which is a change in itself, right? Employees are leaving, companies are not able to retain their employees, which is out of their control, right? Now, how should businesses respond to this? And that is where the struggle is, right? I think businesses need to take a step back and revisit their people value proposition or employee value proposition. What are you putting out there when you're hiring, right? There's been a lot of conversations. You can't compete with the dollars. So for the tech space, you can't compete with the dollars, but what can you give someone to remain? I know people who are in the UK now and they still have their jobs in Nigeria, but not every business leader is open to that. They feel like if I'm not seeing you, then you're not working. I know someone who, as at last week, was her last day at work. She wanted to resign, and our office offered her a contract that, you know what, this thing you're doing, you can continue doing it from there, right? And when you come back, we'll give you your job. So one response to it is organizations need to have an open mind to flexible work. I think that's one way this will survive. Two, we need to go back and rethink our recruitment strategy, our criteria. A lot of businesses are not willing to train people. A lot of businesses just want ready-made hires. It still baffles me in today's day and age, where experience hires, some companies are still looking for passing English and maths in WAEC. For someone that is an experienced hire, I still can't wrap my head around it, right? So we need to take a step back and think about all of those things. Someone has done WAEC and NECO, fine. But this person has gone through university and graduated and probably done a master's, right? Organizations now need to build a talent pipeline. That would be the first thing. And honestly, we need to get rid of this 2-1, 2-2, WAEC, NECO. I think so personally. Build a talent pipeline. And also, you now need to inculcate succession planning. If we've not been taking that thing serious, it is time to take it serious. Introduce succession planning, because you can be sitting down in meeting now talking about your strategy. Meanwhile, the head of strategy has booked his ticket to Canada. You can't stop him. But if he goes, are you willing to enable him at least work for the next 6 months over there and be able to coach someone who is going to take over? Have you identified any possible person that can take over a role when a key role leaves? Right? Like I said, 30 seconds cannot help me to do justice to this. JAPA is going to continue. JAPA has always been, right? It is just more prominent now post-COVID. Organizations can respond to it by rethinking their employee value proposition, rethinking their talent pipeline, how they recruit, who they recruit, by doing more of coaching, mentoring, and succession planning. And of course, be flexible and open-minded. After all, during COVID, when people did not go to the office, companies did not die. People worked. So I really wonder why the crave of bringing people back to the office by force again, you know. So I think I'll just stop there because
thank you, Femi. But Julius, I've forgotten if you don't. Julius, 30 seconds. Thank you. Please round up.
In fact, Temitope I said the most important things that I was trying to also say, but I still have some few things that I would like to say. Is that where you cannot depend on the best talent anymore because they can poach them away from you. You just have to build internal capabilities. Graduate training is the way now. You just have to build people from ground up so fast, because the moment they get up there, the moment they become professionals, you can lose them within 1 year, 2 years. They are difficult to keep. So you also have to build systems that are not dependent on people. Don't build system around people. Build system that almost anybody can come on board and take over. So you have to democratize your business information within every unit. If you keep holding information, when the next person comes in, they will have to start from ground zero again. So create a tech system that democratizes the business process for every unit, in the sense that whoever comes on board can just take off from there. So it's actually difficult. So graduate training is the way forward.
Thank you, Julius. Thank you so much. From an HR perspective, Imade, please let's have you, Imade.
Okay, so just to add on what Tokwe said earlier, right? There was a company I worked with recently, and we have implemented everything Tokwe has said. Our attrition rate increased by 10%, despite the best effort, which now goes to what Julius is saying again, is the fact that we cannot stop what is going on. Attrition rate is going up every single day, even with the best effort. What we need to do as business owners, like Julius said, create a system that works. And those systems, there's no system that can really be rid of people, right? So you must, as much as possible, create a system that works. Because even if you do all that we've said today, people will leave if they have to leave. And you need to know the motivation. Again, I'm going back to this because we miss this a lot. But these things must be specific to your organization. There is no one thing that works. It must be what is specific to what you're dealing with, because context is important. So people don't leave here and go and implement things that will not work for them. Context is key. So you want to interview the people that are leaving and find out why they are leaving and see if your future policies continue to evolve to resolve those issues as best as you can. You must have people in your organization. So like Tokwe and Julius said, create a succession plan where as people are leaving, people can take over. In Nigeria, we have this God forbid mentality where we say it won't happen to us and we are reactive. We need to be constantly innovative to keep our people. And if you can't keep them, create structures that ensure that when they are gone, you're not in wreck. So this is going back to risk management. And it's also going back to issue management. JAPA is a major risk and it is with us. So we must continuously and constantly look at that risk and see how we can tailor things that suit us. So you must go back today and look at your company. What are you dealing with peculiarly? And create those solutions that fit your company needs.
Thank you, Madi. Thank you. Buchi, please let's have you, Buchi. 30 seconds. Hello, Buchi. Please unmute your mic.
I'm here. I'm
okay,
here.
Thank you.
For me, I think we've all said the major issue about people leaving. The risk is there. It's just for us to be proactive and create a system that works, and it has to be customized to your own environment, in line with what Imade said. So, for me, value doesn't come from change. Value comes from changes that gets adopted and used. So that's where the value comes from.
Thank you,
so
Buchi.
if you are there, okay, let me just stop there. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Buchi. Please let's have you, Toyin.
I think I would just add to what everybody has said. I think a general layer for me will be treat your people right. Because even when they go and you want to replace them, at times people find out from people how the organization is.
Yes.
You talked about an employee who was asked to work. I think Temitope talked about the lady who was traveling and they asked her if she could keep working with them. If her response was yes, it's also because she has been treated right in that organization. If people are disengaging, also partly because they do not like or they have created I can't find the word now. If the environment is toxic, yes, believe me, one of the things I have noticed now is that people don't even complete their notice period. They're willing to pay, So I'm just thinking, why doesn't anybody want to complete their notice period anymore? So for me, I would say on top of what everybody has said, also treat people right. This world is so connected. The next person you're going to hire is going to try and find out how your organization is doing. If you really need somebody to stay one extra month with you to hand over to somebody and they are traveling, you want them to feel like you have deposited enough in them for them to willingly do that, So I think that's what I'll just add. But everybody's point is really valid. Everything I've heard today.
Thank you so much, Oluwatoyin, participant. They've been with us. They are joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. You agree with me that this summit has been a success. Special thanks to our chief sponsor, Stride ERP. You can visit www.strideerp.com for amazing and budget-friendly packages. The winners of the prizes that we have and the benefit packages will be announced at the end of the summit. And a big shout out to our partners, Radgate Technology, Shetram Homes, Royal Renasido, Simply Exponential, HG&W Consultant Limited, and Mytosat. Thank you so much, Imade. Thank you so much, Buchi. Thank you so much, Julius. Thank you, and thank you, Oluwatoyin. It has been a very beautiful time with you here today. And thank you to our audience too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And on this note, we are going to close for the evening. Thank you so much. You all added a charm to this summit. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Folashade. Thank you, everyone. It was nice meeting everyone. Thank you.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming on, the audience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.